Here we are, Batwoman Season 2, Episode 2, Prior Criminal History. We start off down in the sewers with Alice acting all creepy with a rat, talking about we mustn't wake him as she's talking to Mouse's seemingly non-deteriorating corpse, which is odd, and then for some goddamn reason, duct tapes a fucking rat to his chest. I mean, I don't know what to say about the choice and direction they're taking with this character, but if you told me Alice would be playing house with a dead mouse in the sewer and duct tape a rat to his chest, I'd have said, you're probably fucking right. Then a bunch of bats come flying in and of course start eating the rat, and one of their eyes glows. What the fuck? We join Ryan walking down a dark alley in what seems to be a flashback sequence, and she's accosted and assaulted by three men in masks. One of them pulls a gun and is immediately knocked down by a batarang. Then, two overly accommodating stuntmen are accosted by Batwoman, and of course she beats the shit out of both of the overly accommodating stuntmen. And when the third member of the I got my ass kicked by a 90-pound woman club gets up, Ryan of course expertly throws a batarang like she's been doing it her whole life, hits him right in the wrist, and just as he was reaching for his gun nonetheless. I mean, she threw that thing like she was already the fucking bestest ever. And she was just another homeless martial arts expert drug runner, not user living in her plant with her plant in a van down by the river at this point. Who knew?
And living in a van down by the river.
Then, after our flashback sequence, we see Ryan is in an interview with someone, a white male, so of course he's going to be playing an asshole, about a job with a security firm. The fact that she was incarcerated at Blackgate Prison comes up. She of course says she didn't do it. She only pled guilty to avoid getting a lengthier sentence. She is explaining how being in Blackgate made her good at reading people because faces can tell you a lot. The interviewer says, "Oh yeah? What's mine telling you?" Ryan replies, "That I'm not getting the job." Jacob is watching footage of the Crows opening fire on Batwoman in the football stadium, remember from last season, not knowing that Kate was Batwoman. Of course, he's having feelings in the conference room. Poor Grace Scott. Sophie comes in and tells him that they're here, and we cut to Jacob talking to his stepdaughter Mary about Kate being Batwoman, and Sophie and Jacob are questioning Mary and Luke also, who she worked with, because they're investigating her murder. Luke grills Sophie about the Crow ambush at the football stadium, and Sophie storms out to have some feelings in the hallway, because the show is all about feelings, not superheroes, but feelings.
2 chops to the throat. 2 chops to the damn throat.
Now, as Sophie is out in the hallway having feelings, she of course runs into Julia Pennyworth, and we have
The lesbian!
Seriously, try to be mature here. Sophie storms by her, and Julia and Sophie argue about Julia knowing that Kate was Batwoman before she did. And now she goes off to have feelings on the stairs, as Julia is left in the hallway to have her feelings by the vending machine. Ryan is in a supermarket, and she starts to have some pain from the kryptonite bullet. A robbery takes place, and she asks the clerk for generic ibuprofen, but doesn't know the robbery's going on yet, because that'll take away from a kryptonite shotgun blast. You know, ibuprofen. Why don't you just get some tough actin' Tinactin?
Boom! Tough actin' Tinactin.
But oh yeah, back to the beatdown. Mind you, Ryan is in street clothes, but she's highly skilled and wildly undisciplined, whatever the fuck that means, so she just beats the shit out of 2 armed gunmen easily until one of them cracks her in the back of the head and they escape. She quickly goes to tend to the clerk who's been injured, and you hear, "Hands in the air." And we look up, and it's a very white Crow officer, and he's got Ryan at gunpoint. She puts her hands up and has that "they're gonna lock me up because I'm black" look on her face. I mean, if I'm an officer responding to an active shooter in a robbery in progress call, the first person I see, especially if they're concealed behind a counter, I'm verifying their identity with my own personal safety in mind first and foremost, and that of any potential victims. So this wasn't racially motivated on the officer's part. This was Ryan being in the wrong place at the wrong time, but the security tapes and witness testimony will no doubt absolve her. Sophie walks into the interrogation room and sarcastically greets Ryan, and they clearly have a past, and Sophie is having none of it, until a Crow officer comes in and tells Sophie that Ryan is innocent because the security footage cleared her. Didn't I just say that? Ryan and Sophie talk about Alice and the fact that she's free to walk the streets. Ryan says she knows the real reason that Jacob won't put a bullet in Alice, and Sophie says any sympathy that Jacob had for her died a long time ago. Ryan asks what Sophie is talking about because she doesn't know that Kate and Beth or Alice are sisters. Sophie says, "What are you talking about?" To which Ryan immediately replies, and I can't make this shit up, ladies and gentlemen, I can't.
That if Alice weren't white, she'd be dead.
Sophie responds in the best way she can and says, "Sorry for the inconvenience, Miss Wilder. You're free to go." And just like that, we got hit with a ham-fisted haymaker of wokeness courtesy of Batwoman 2.0. Ryan goes to Mary at her clinic and starts questioning Mary about the fact that she knows Alice is Beth Kane and asks Mary if covering up for her runs in the family. Mary snaps back, or should I say claps back, that Alice killed her mom and she'd never help her. Ryan immediately recoils and apologizes. Mary tells her that Alice poisoned her mom and her, and Ryan tells her that her mom was an Alice victim too, and maybe that she'll get justice for both of them. You go, girl. Just then, a male attendant brings in a, quote, homeless man. He's all bitten up, and Mary recognizes the stiff as Mouse. Julie is walking through the parking lot and gets in her SUV to have feelings while texting Sophie. And of course, Alice is in the back seat and has a blade to her neck, and it's obvious that both have heat with Sophia. And I'm not gonna lie, seeing Alice kind of right in Sophie, or the other lesbian, Julia's ear, and just the proximity of it all.
The lesbian!
I mean, seriously, I gave it a full screen for the first part. I mean, look at those two. Don't tell me that's not hot. Well, anyway, Alice proposes an alliance to get back at Sophia before she gets both of them. Alice is absolutely a scene stealer during this. Rachel Scarston just chews it up. And Julia talks shit and gets stabbed right in the ribs just before Alice gets out and just fucking walks away. Just walks away like nothing happened. I mean, seriously, though, I'd watch one of them put something in the other one's ribs. I'm not going to lie. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong here? They're two sexy blondes. Luke joins Mary and Ryan at the clinic, sees Mouse's body, tells them that Mouse was poisoned, and they summarize that Alice must be completely unhinged to have poisoned the only person keeping her somewhat sane. And that's a very loose term with Alice. Then Mouse's body convulses a few times, and a bat bursts out of the chest like it's an alien. And Ryan screams and says, "I really hate bats." These are award-winning writers, ladies and gentlemen. Rejoining the show after these commercial breaks, Rejoining the show after a quick commercial break, we see a rally of citizens showing support for Batwoman. And then back to Luke, Ryan, and Mary trying to figure out where Alice is going to strike. Luke and Mary are talking about past events and how it could help them find the location. And lo and behold, Ryan Wilder, the world's greatest detective, figures it out by watching the telly and says, "Guys," well, fucking first of all, Ryan, easy on the fucking pronouns, missy. "What about the Batwoman rally? Plot, meet lazy writing." Ryan says that those people aren't going to leave without Batwoman. She'll put on the suit. And Luke says that people will know you're not Batwoman. Hello, black. But Mary intervenes and says she knows that, and Mary wants her to do it, and Ryan is, of course, off to be powerful.
You serious?
As the Crows officers show up to disperse the crowd, Jacob and Sophie show up and discuss removing the crowd, and in comes Ryan on the building trying to pose for the crowd. Of course, they see her and think it's Kate, but Jacob looks through binoculars and tells an officer to get that imposter off the roof. Alice shows up and starts talking shit because she says, "You're not Batwoman." Alice and Ryan are squaring off. Luke is trying to talk Ryan out of killing Alice, and Alice opens fire on her with a couple handguns. Of course, Ryan doesn't even flinch. They don't know that's not how Kevlar works, but whatever. They go hand to hand, and of course, it looks like a perfectly choreographed karate fight, while Luke and Mary have feelings in the Batcave. Ryan has the drop on Alice, but Alice triggers a flock of bats using a device that swarms the crowd. How original and creative is this writing team, am I right? I mean, have you guys ever seen this play before?
Have you ever seen anything like this, Pat? Pat?
Just once, John, the 1975 Cotton Bowl.
Ryan is relaying to Luke that Alice employed the bat calling device. Alice escapes down the stairwell, and the Crows start shooting bats. Ryan uses her mask to find the device that brought the bats into the main area where the crowd was gathered, and she takes the device to dispose of it and draw the bats away. Mary is at her clinic tending to a bat bite victim, and Alice is waiting in her office unbeknownst to Mary. But before Mary walks in on her, she sees her patient's eyes turn yellow and blood starts pouring out of her nose. Alice is accepting Mary as her sister as she explains to her and gives her blood to treat the patients with. It's Mary's blood, remember from season 1 when she got poisoned. Alice made her choose between her or mom surviving. Now Mary's blood serves as an antidote. Great writing. Alice says on her way out that she met the new girl and she's actually willing to kill me, and that Ryan's a handful. Any scene with Rachel Scarston belongs to her, for better or for worse, and with this writing and story group, it's usually for the worse. We cut to Ryan driving away with the sonar device in the Batmobile. Can we just call it the Shatmobile? Because it's nothing more than a Corvette with a few decals and a fucking spoiler, which I don't understand. If she wanted to make a fast getaway, she should have taken her van. Or is it the Batmobile is only fast when it's driven by a woman? Hear me out. The Batsuit will only be perfect when it fits a woman. The Batmobile will only be driven perfectly when it fits a woman, which means she'll drive around the parking lot for an hour looking to park and then back into somebody, I think. I don't know, maybe.
This is outrageous. It's unfair.
Ryan hijacks a Crow security van, lets all the bats in and closes the door, saves a homeless woman and blows up the bus right in the middle of the road, killing all the bats. The homeless girl looks up at Ryan and says, "Batwoman?" Ryan replies, "I'm not Batwoman." To which the vagabond says, "You are to me." Back at Crow headquarters, Sophie goes to Julia and asks her who the new Batwoman is, but Julia tells Sophie where she can find Alice instead. Julia tells Sophie that Kate loved her, and Julia wanted to know why it was over between them. And we have some feelings in the office, and we have Julia and Sophie on screen together. You know what that means.
You're both pieces of shit. Yeah, I can prove it mathematically. Actually, let me grab my whiteboard.
Yes, but no, not right here. This is what it means.
The lesbian!
Mary and Jacob have feelings in his office as Dougray Scott tries to act despite the writing, and Mary and him discuss working together to find Kate, which I'll delve into at the end of the episode in my final thoughts. Ryan returns the suit to Luke and Mary and lobbies to keep wearing the suit, and of course we get some guilt tripping and telling Luke she knows how to stop criminals, blah blah blah. Mary of course sides with Ryan, and Luke tells her no killing, and she only gets it until Kate's back, which again I'll talk about at the end of the episode. And to end things this week, Alice is walking down a dark alley. All of a sudden you see a red dot, and Sophie has her gun drawn at Alice, pointed right at her chest, makes Alice handcuff herself, and then Sophie's taken out by a sword-bearing assailant named Tatiana or some shit I don't know, who knocks Alice out and prepares to take her to Sophia. And that is where we leave Batwoman episode 2. Yay, it's over. Fuck the show. Everyone is looking for Kate Kane. Where's Kate? When's Kate coming back? I hate to be the one to break it to you, Gotham, but Kate Kane ain't coming back. But this show won't dare kill her off, because that would be feeding into the bring out your gays trope. They always have to kill the gay characters. So they'll keep referring to her, though she's still alive, to avoid that. It's incredibly weak on the part of the showrunners, because unless Hell freezes over, Ruby Rose is never coming back to the show. They've even got another actress doing voiceover work in the flashbacks of her reading the letters to Bruce. So for better, let's be honest, it's definitely going to be for the worse, because the show is completely off the rails garbage tier, circling the drain bad. I can't wait to see how the blame for the lack of viewership on the AFC Championship game that saw my Kansas City Chiefs clinch a Super Bowl berth for the second year in a row. You see how interested in this show I am? Yet here I am at 1 a.m. typing this review and talking about football instead of my final thoughts on this dumpster fire of a show. We've got the mysterious Sophia, who we're going to meet next week, I'm sure, and the feelings in the hallway, feelings in the office, feelings in the conference room, feelings, nothing more than feelings, misty morning feelings of the way we were before. Oh, sorry. So we had an episode full of bad CG bats, the Batmobile outrunning a flock of aforementioned CG bats, and the very week after it was outrun by a 1960s Volkswagen van, and a lot of Ryan guilting people into getting her way because of her perpetual victim status. I'm done. This show is absolute garbage. This episode somehow managed to make me hate it more than last week's shit show. I don't know how I'm going to survive this season or season 3, because I'm sure they'll cast a transracial quadriplegic that identifies as a Hindenburg but is an atheist Muslim unicorn. That's it. Until next week, folks, I'm your Bat Bay Tepalkuina, the place to be reviews. I've been here with with all of yous. And remember, if I don't see ya, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and I'll catch you on the next one.